It pisses me off. Like, okay, I spent several years being patriotic. Fuck the haters, and that's how it is, YouTube. Nah, stupid fucking lighter. Fuck you. Stupid fucking lighter. Hey, lighter, fuck you. Oh, you don't like being beat up. You don't like it. You don't like it. You don't fucking like it. Then maybe you shouldn't fucking go against the grain, stupid fuck. I'll beat you up, you piece of shit. God damn it! I broke my fucking cigarette! Fuck! Fucking social media doesn't give a shit! Fuck you! Fuck you fucking touching me, you piece of fucking shit, you! And fuck this! And of course my drink has to spill! I lose my fucking temper over these stupid fucking assholes! And no one's gonna feel sorry for me, because it's just like you did it to yourself, dude. You had a fucking drink combo and you had to lose your fucking autistic temper. Spill it for yourself. Fucking bullshit. Get the fuck out of my way, stupid fucking hat. Stupid fucking piece of shit fucking hat. Fuck you, fuck you. Oh, it's here. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. You fucking piece of goddamn shit. Fuck you. You stupid fucking bottle. Stay on the fucking desk. Stay on the fucking desk, you piece of shit. Fuck you. I told you how many times did I fucking tell you to stay on the fucking desk. Fucking stay on the desk. I told you 1,000 times. Fuck you. Ah. Fuck you. You stupid fuck. You wanna fall off the desk to be cute, and no one asked you to be cute. You piece of shit. Fuck you. I don't care if I got a nasty fucking temper. Fuck you, stay the fuck in my hand, you piece of shit. I'll smoke you until you're dead. Fuck you, don't care if anyone cited me. I'm fucking miserable. I'm just making the best of every day. That's all you can do, YouTube. That's all I can do. Temper, fuck you. Stay the fuck in my hand, you piece of shit. I'll smoke you until you're dead. Fuck you. Don't care if anyone cited me. I'm fucking miserable. I'm just making the best of every day. That's all you can do, YouTube. That's all I can do.
Underground has the best video clips in town. TV Underground has the best video clips around. TV Underground has the best video clips in town. TV Underground has the best video clips around. TV Underground has the best video clips in town. TV Underground has the best video clips around. TV Underground has the best video clips in town. TV Underground has the best video clips around. TV Underground has the best video clips in town. TV Underground has the best video clips around.
Hi, everybody. How's it going? Welcome back. Doing another afternoon type stream. Welcome. Everyone, please like the stream. Give the stream a beautiful, the best like, a beautiful like. Believe me, I know likes. And your likes are by far the best likes. Don't you think for a minute that other likes are better. Your likes are by far the best likes. Bigly likes. We ended up getting an offline dono while I was sleeping from a fan of ours in Europe. It was Christian, I believe. I think that's who it was. Yes. Yes. He sent in a $22 dono 7 hours ago when I was asleep. So yeah, so now we're $135.31 away from the goal. This is overtime. I was like, oh, the donos don't normally. The donos usually stop coming in around 11 p.m. my time because it's super late, in the eastern part of the U.S. So I was like, I'll just do it this time of day. Maybe we'll reach the goal in an hour or two. So yeah, thanks for the likes, and if you want to help me meet the goal, it's right there. We're at 84. We're at almost 85%. So we're really close. Let's check out Ben Gleck. He's upset about Biden's pardons.
I have to bring up the pardon thing because
What music is he playing?
I don't. What?
What's the slow? He has the slow panning camera.
Apparently, Biden now has pardoned.
He likes pan shots. I've learned that throughout the years of watching his stuff, especially when he went to the Blaze and he had control of all the production. He likes those panning shots of him while he's, talking into his mic. That's an interesting looking mic, too. I wonder what it is. That looks like an XLR cable coming out of it. It's probably some crazy expensive mic.
9,000 people. Like George Bush did like 500. And over 8 years. 9,000 people. The only one close is Jimmy Carter because he did 12,000.
A lot of the pardons, though, were just, pardoning people who were convicted of stuff that we probably are going to legalize soon, like a lot of like marijuana-based convictions, that sort of stuff. And I'm against the death penalty in general, so even for like the horrific murderers or whatever that were going to get the death penalty, I'm fine with them just living in prison for like the next several years, whatever.
People that had to go to Canada because they tried to avoid the Vietnam War. So he just did a blanket pardon of 12,000 people. This is 9,000 individuals.
Yeah, some of them work.
Are they people who like dodge the draft? Is that what he's talking about?
Sort of in that blanket. Like he did that 1,500 that one day, which is the most ever happened in a day. And they were sort of more like blanket. They were like, here's a class of criminal in a certain situation.
This is crazy.
But like some of the specifics are really bizarre.
Yeah.
Right? Like this woman who bilked this town.
Okay, yeah. So there's a town, Dixon, Illinois, and it's a small town. And this woman worked for the town, and she had opened up an account, and she was transferring money into her account. And people are like, "Where's all the money going?" $54 million. Okay, I love the list of what she bought. She bought like 400 horses and then like 80 acres of land, which you can't have 400 horses on 80 acres of land. But anyway.
What is this story?
Well, that's a lot of horses.
Why is that?
Because you'd have to
As
continue.
a person who was born in New York, why is that a problem?
That's not enough grass.
Not enough grass.
So you would have to year-round be feeding the horses.
How much grass are these things eating? That's too much.
Eat
Calm down.
all day long.
Calm down. Jeez.
Anyway,
it's grass.
She bought,
so excited.
let's see, 400 horses, 48
There's just not enough room.
trucks, luxury motorhome, classic cars, a boat, 80 acres of land, jewelry, personal credit cards, business expenses, furnishing for at least 3 homes, including a Florida vacation home.
You think at some point in a small town they would have caught this a little earlier?
Yeah.
Why would they want 400 horses, though? That's way too many. 10 is too many. Why do you need 400 of them? Even if you were rich beyond your wildest dreams, why own 400 horses?
New collection and you work, what? Where? What? So anyway, she goes on vacation and the city's like, let's check her bank records, her bank account. And so they get the warrant, they check her bank, they arrest her. She's 20 years. She served like 4 or 5 years of her time. And she's like, oh, I'm getting really old and sick. And she's not that old. And so the judge says, okay, and this set the town on fire. The judge said, okay, home arrest. You're just ankle bracelet. You cannot leave your home. Okay, well, if you're sick and you're worried that, your family's not going to see you and whatever, fine.
Okay.
That wasn't good enough for whoever is putting this one in front of Joe Biden. He just said, you're done. Why?
I mean, it's house arrest.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, this is like a financial crime, so I'm a lot more lenient on those than the violent kind of crimes. Like scammers and shit should face consequences, but I don't know. If she was already on house arrest, I don't really see the problem there.
Who suggested this one?
somebody. It wasn't just a random, he was just perusing the internet and came across this story and thought, this person who brought 400 horses for 80 acres?
Yeah.
80 acres, which by the way is too.
I don't know. I'd like to see the real evidence on this. Or maybe the person was just crazy. If you think 80 acres is enough for 400 horses, that just doesn't sound right. 400 horses is a lot. That's too many. You'd have to hire people to clean up their shit and feed them and stuff. You'd need all these stables for them to live in, or you're just going to let them run wild on the 80 acres and reproduce. And then you'll have 1,000 horses eventually.
Too many horses on that many acres.
I could be wrong, horse people. I could be wrong. I know cows can't do it. Horse people.
I mean, you could just be wrong in general.
They are horse people. They have the head and hands of horses.
Oh, my God.
The rest of them is human. It's weird.
I'd say that's horrific, but that would be hateful, and I shouldn't judge other people's cultures.
They're just like people. They need people food, but they don't have fingers or thumbs.
No, so they just eat grass.
Yeah.
I think horses eat oats more than they eat grass. Cows eat grass, right? I'm so confused. Because I would think these people would at least a little bit know what they're talking about, but I don't think they do. You don't let horses graze. I mean, horses will eat pretty much anything you give them, but don't horses mainly eat oats and shit that's what I always thought. They don't graze per se like cows do.
This isn't a random thing. The way a lot of this works is somebody who is tied to the administration.
Okay.
Somebody who, has a connection, or a person who has a connection to somebody else, gets the message to somebody in the administration, hey, I like this person. I don't think they're that bad. You should let them out. And that's not the way it's. Let me tell you a story I've never told on the air before.
Okay.
There's a guy I know who I think it was caught up in something that he didn't do. Everything that I see looks like he's been falsely accused, and
I wonder who he's talking about. A guy that Glenn Beck knows, and he knows a lot of these conservative politicians and shit, right?
It's just destroyed his life for many, many years, and they haven't sentenced him, and he's waiting for the shoe to drop for at that time 2 years. This 4 years ago, and so his attorney called me and he said, the president, and I went through the case and everything, and I thought I think he's actually innocent. So I called the president right after the new year, and I said, Mr. President, may I pitch you on a name? We've already sent it to your vetters, so they're looking at it. I just want to tell you, I think this guy got the shaft.
You made a personal plea.
I made a personal plea, and we talked about it for a while, and he said, okay, I'd love to do that, but I have to look at the case. I don't know I haven't heard of this case. I said, I understand.
So he went to Trump asking Trump to pardon one of his buddies, if I understand this correctly.
Just wanted to put my name on it.
Put it on your radar.
Just put it on your radar. They looked at it. They disagreed. He wasn't pardoned. but that's the way it happens.
Mhm.
Okay. Some
No, not everybody can like contact the president and even get an audience with the president and ask them if they can pardon one of their buddies.
some lawyer gets information to the White House, and that lawyer knows somebody who knows somebody in the White House, and they call and say, 9,000 pardons? 9,000. First of all, President Trump.
I mean, Glenn Beck basically just admitted that pardons are cool when it's people he knows. You know?
or President Biden has
So he's done the same thing. He's gone to the president and asked to pardon someone he knows. So he shouldn't have a problem with Biden doing that for other people.
no idea. There's no way you could go through 9,000. How many lawyers at the White House do they have going over these cases for 9,000 reversals?
Why isn't he wearing his Benjamin Franklin glasses?
Right, they're just saying, likely, allegedly, just saying yes to everybody who's asking.
Why
that's
would
connected
you
to
let
them.
this person go?
Right, because it seems like a terrible one. Someone who bilked
you-
to the public for millions and millions and millions of dollars.
$54 million, a small town. That's a lot of money to that
Yeah.
small town.
And
They had to cut services.
Yep.
Okay, so what about
Sure. Yeah.
the one with the judge? Listen to this one.
Yeah, this is a story of a judge who
Yeah, she went to prison for multiple years and then was under house arrest for multiple years. And I don't know how much time she had back because I've never heard this story. I'm just taking it at face value. It sounds like her sentence was probably almost up already and she had been in house arrest for a long time.
long story short, basically was accused and convicted of going through, taking people and intentionally sentencing young people, juveniles and young people. If I'm remembering all the details of the story correctly, to prisons in conjunction with someone who was running the prison. And of course, the
prison makes money.
It's a for-profit prison.
Yeah, so the prison makes money if you get more prisoners.
Right.
Why does he always wear a neckerchief type thing? What is that?
Right. So they were sentencing.
Does he think he's like? Does he think he's a member of Aerosmith or something like that? Okay.
People to prison time to line their pockets and their
To hide the neck fat.
and
That's
their
probably
associates' pockets.
That person, honestly, that's one of the worst crimes. I mean, that's, to me,
That's awful,
That's
yeah.
up there with murder.
I mean, and I will say that I've seen some legitimate anger from the left on that one in particular.
It should be. That should be. That's an assault on not just our laws. That's not money. That is that's taking.
Glenn Beck will not have a problem with any. There's going to be a bunch of Trump pardons right away. By the way, like we'll get them before the end of his administration, which is normally where like a lot of them happen at the end of an administration.
Somebody's liberty.
We'll see how many pardons. We'll see how many pardons Trump does, and then we'll see how outraged Glenn Beck gets.
And really, you live with that for the rest of your life. Your life.
Mm-hmm.
For money, the judge is doing that. That person should never get out of prison, at least early. I think that is one of the worst crimes I've heard.
It's a really rough one, and you're talking about the lives of young people who might be able to turn their lives around, and who knows? So
Look at the story that came out. When was this? Friday or Thursday of last week. The girl who said, "Oh, by the way, the Duke lacrosse team, I did make that up."
Yeah, that is a crazy story. The whole the like essay accusations against the Duke lacrosse players years ago. The woman that accused all the Duke lacrosse players came out recently and said she lied about the whole thing, which is fucking insane. Because it even though it got thrown out of court, people still accused them of doing that without any like hearing or anything like that. And now like you know, what is it, like a decade later, she finally admitted she lied about it. That's pretty fucked up.
No, she didn't say it that way. That's the way I heard it, and I was outraged. I was like, this person should be in jail forever. Well, she's already in jail. She murdered somebody.
Yeah, she's in prison.
So she's already in jail. But it looks like she's had a deep spiritual change in her.
They all do. That happens in prison all the time.
Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to say, oh, you know what? Let's forget the prison thing on the murder. No. But she looks like she had a deep.
That's all you need to pander to dipshits like Glenn Beck. You just have to pretend like you're all religious now, and he'll be like, oh, man, looks like they're a good person now, even though they lied about getting SA'd and murdered people.
Jesus moment. And she was...
Oftentimes, believing in Jesus makes you a worse person because then you justify all sorts of crazy things just because it's in an old book. So, just because someone's like, oh, I believe in Jesus now, that doesn't mean shit.
Clearing this up. I think that is absolutely incredible because the 3 boys that were charged and everyone in the Duke lacrosse team was smeared. But imagine being one of those 3 that were named, trying to get a job.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, horrible. I had you mentioned, Glenn, I have a friend of a friend who's on the Duke lacrosse team, was on that Duke lacrosse team. Wow. Not one of the kids.
Yeah, I saw it in the chat. This is the only piece of news right now I can find about it. That it's the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. I just Googled it, Jimmy Carter, and like Wikipedia hasn't been updated yet. Maybe it has been by now, but this article is from 8 minutes ago. I mean, none of us are surprised. We were surprised he lived this long. But there you go. R.I.P. Jimmy C.
Who was actually not even at that party.
Sure, Stu.
Not even at the party.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Not only were they not accused of doing anything wrong at the party, but weren't even at the party. And the second they would turn in a resume to someone with Duke and lacrosse on it, in that time period, they would just not get callbacks from prospective employers because of this. And some of them would tell them, like, I can't hire somebody from the Duke freaking lacrosse team, which is, I mean, it's somewhat understandable from an employer's perspective. You'd really have to be sure. Now, in that case, they should have been sure because he wasn't even at the party. But still, I mean, this was an awful slander beyond slander. Of course, they wound up winning.
But remember, I mean, you remember the name Nifong?
Yeah, Mike Nifong. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
he stuck to it even after.
Oh, he was like, these guys are criminals, blah, blah, blah. He just kept going and going and going. Said that it was, racist. The entire team was racist. The school was racist. I mean, somebody should pay a price for this. You destroyed lives.
This is the video. So if you remember the story, it was a stripper who went to a party and then claimed she was raped.
Right.
Right.
But there was no DNA evidence.
Yeah. All sorts of
she was drunk and on drugs. She left the party early. Everyone she actually said was there wasn't there.
Many of them weren't, yeah. So there's all sorts of problems. The case fell apart. It was a big scandal, of course, but she never came out and said, hey, by the way, I was totally lying about that. So in the interim, she murdered her boyfriend with a kitchen knife.
Right, okay.
That
happens.
Some developments.
That happens.
Yeah, it seems like a totally well-adjusted individual situation.
And has had what she claims is a transformation. I want to play this video for you. It's about a minute and a half.
No, I don't even want to watch. I've already watched this shit. Yeah, this is the woman. She's in prison because she murdered somebody, and she lied about being SA'd. We are going to check out some other stuff. Let's check out JF. The
founders forgot that we had medical liberty.
People were put the truth out there.
Hello, everyone.
He's got that it's he still doesn't have the eternal torch going yet in the background.
How are you doing, people of the regular chat? Welcome to JFG tonight. It's a sad day because I see a bait and switch being pulled by your intellectual class, the right wing. That's very frustrating to me.
A bet and switch?
It's these people who have told you to vote Trump, vote Trump. They weren't worried about Trump increasing legal immigration during the election. They told you to abandon your voting power to a man who was telling you he was going to increase legal immigration in the form of we're gonna stack green card, we're gonna attack green cards.
Oh, Trump isn't xenophobic enough for JF. He wants most immigration stopped because the whites are getting taken over, and he doesn't like that.
To a college degree, we're gonna give H-1B visas for the Indians in the tech sector. We're gonna get good people, and suddenly they think that it's worth anything in Christmas season, once that Trump is already elected, to start a conversation about how they disagree with H-1B visas and the basically the conversion of American demographics to a fully
Yep. American demographics shifting. JF is not happy about that. He doesn't live in the U.S. anymore, but I mean, you know, the influence of the U.S. around the world. He's afraid of the whites getting taken over in America, brown America. JF is afraid of that.
Indian society, and now suddenly it's a problem. But you got your guy in power who was telling you he was going to give H-1B visas. Who was telling you all of the lines so that you could understand in no unclear terms that you were going to get legal immigration to the max. Night King says, I want a visa for the U.S. as a white European engineer, but it's hard to find a company that will go through this process with you. Oh, yeah, because it's so mechanized and easy.
I wonder how many of JF's viewers are not from North America and they're from other continents, including Europe and South America. I have to wonder. I think there's a noticeable amount.
When you're hiring a low-level employee from India, and it's like the form write themselves, but then it's harder for a European engineer. Oh, it's complicated. Oh, how about the J1 as a visiting scholar? And it's like, the white people are disadvantaged in this process simply because of the numbers, the number game. There's all these Indians waiting to enter, and they're willing to create any narrative and willing to create an impression of a need in those big California businesses that are spammed with money, that have infinite money, basically, because of the tech bubble and because of the structure of the stock market. And so you end up having a pull of.
When he says a pull, he makes like a ball cupping motion. Did you see that? A pull. Everyone like the stream, please. Thank you.
Indians inside the
That's
tech
what he was
sector.
doing.
And yes, it ends up with these people. Someone was pointing out on social media. I retweeted his tweet. It does end up with, so now you have tech CEOs that are Indians and they censor you, and they don't have an understanding and a living of American morality and the philosophies of free speech. They come from a nation that's completely corrupt, and where, okay, if you pay enough, we're gonna do the. If you pay enough, we're gonna censor these guys. If we pay enough, we're going to interfere with this business. Saturn Shine says, why can't they do it in their own country? Exactly. With COVID-19, work from home, what's so critical about the special knowledge of these Indians that they're the only one apparently capable of operating Google and a Tim Hortons in Canada? What is so special?
What is so? It sounds like he's jealous. What's so special about them? What do they have to offer?
The phenomenon we're seeing is that California.
Yes, he immigrated to America for his career. He got fired.
California is being made to be unlivable for a white person. And so
What?
for the same salary, it's worth it for an Indian if it's his entry.
We got all kinds of Indian people living around here. I mean, like, that's... And there are big tech businesses here, but they work because they're qualified to work. A lot of them retire from Microsoft and do other things, too.
Step into America, it's worth it for an Indian to come here. He gets a bigger salary. He gets those big salaries from the tech sectors, and he can start trying to charm someone locally to marry and eventually stay.
Ah ha ha! The Indians are going to come, make a lot of money, hook up with your white women, and produce brown babies. JF does not like that. That bothers him.
Without a professional endorsement. But what we're doing basically is we are spamming money into sectors that are very likely to not need all these Indians and certainly not need them forever. Eventually, you'll get an economic crash. Suddenly, there's no more money running around. And suddenly, these Indians are released into the U.S., and many of them will have found other tactics to stay in the U.S., and we end up with the social cost. We have basically a tech sector that is dumping its social cost of demographic change onto the U.S. population. And we've been saying this for years. It would have been very easy for the Trump supporters of the center-right to say it during the election. Me and Nick Fuentes saw it. So it's not like it was hard to see. Trump was very open about all this. But now is not the time, now that you voted your guy in and that he's named at the top of his immigration council.
So he's chastising people who voted for Trump. I don't know who else, what other choice they would have wanted more on JF's side. But yeah, I mean, I guess they could have just not voted at all, because they wouldn't have voted for Biden either. So he's like, oh, are you happy now you vote for this guy? The first thing he says he's going to do is let legal immigration in.
He's named an Indian who's totally for the increase of H-1B and who's a pro.
He's named an Indian. The Indians. He's got the Indians on his payroll.
Immigration militant. That's what you're going to get. You get what you fucking deserve. That's my
his fake emotion. You got what you fucking deserve.
Point. Don't you start dissociating from the point that you told your crowd to vote for. And this is where I'm disgusted by what we're seeing. These center-right people who today are telling you, well, I'm for Trump in general, but I'm not for H-1B visas. Maybe we could try convincing Trump that it's not good. No. You vote for H-1B visas. You can't make it. If you can't make it a priority to the point where you're able to say, I'm going to vote for Kamala just because Trump won't fix this issue, then you are worth nothing.
I don't think they voted for Kamala. Well, I don't know what he's talking about. I voted for Kamala because I really dislike Trump a lot. I'm sorry. I just, I find him very unlikable, like almost like he tries to be unlikable. And then the people who like him for trying to be unlikable, I don't really get it. I don't get it. But
actually and politically, you have decided to cancel your own political force, and the political force.
Thanks to everyone who liked the stream so far. Please like the stream, and also I'm trying to raise the remainder of my weekly goal. It's pinned at the top of the chat. We're at 85% right now. Canadians with opinions on American politics is about as meaningful as men with opinions on what women do with their uteruses. Yeah, I mean, I will say this. American politics really does affect Canada. I mean, it affects a lot of places around the world, you know? Thank you. I appreciate that. We're at 85.63%. U.S. politics does affect other, like a large portion of the world. You know what I mean? Like, especially the nations that border the U.S., our policy really does affect them. Like a lot of the crime in Mexico has to do with like running drugs and weapons, like cartel shit in Mexico into the US because of the regulations here, because there's like such a black market here. So I don't know, like there's definitely, and like tariffs, like if we deal with tariffs now, so it'll affect, but yeah, I mean, like they can have opinions. It is a good analogy. It is a funny analogy. But when I think about it, I'm like, there is like global effects just because the U.S. is such a powerful nation and wealthy nation. What happens here does affect it. There's ripples
of your own audience. Now live with it. You are for H-1B visas. What they're trying to do is, before Trump even comes in,
he also knows most people don't really care about Canadian politics. So he has to talk about U.S. politics at least, because most of the world is kind of tuned into that to some degree.
They want to dissociate from specific.
I know people that live in China that follow what happens here because it's like so important to what happens there.
Specific segments of the Trump policies, so that in 3 years from now, when we're faced with an increase of Indian presence in the U.S., they're going to be able to say, oh, well, I was always against H-1B.
I think Ian Miles Chong is just, I don't think he really gives a shit what he writes about. He just knows he's good enough at writing it and gets attention. I don't know if he actually really cares. He just knows what kind of content his audience wants to watch or read, rather. And yeah, I don't think he's even ever been to America. Indonesia's a very different. I mean, Indonesia's not as easily affected by U.S. policy. Probably more like Australian policy. Isn't he from Indonesia or is it Malaysia? It's one of those two countries. Can't remember which one.
Visas. I was always against it. I voted Trump. But,
Malaysia, okay.
But I was voting for Trump for the other policies. By the way, so I did some research and I found out that the ring I was talking about on the last show is an actual gold ring. It got sold for around $1,000 in an auction on the internet, a similar ring. So so it wasn't a scam as it turned out. So I got to pound it today. Of course, when you
got to pound it,
you have to sell it below the market price. But I got a good 600.
Oh, he pawned it. I thought he said he pounded it. Like, you fucked the ring? Like, what? And yeah, we made the Jimmy Carter announcement a few minutes ago, like 10 minutes ago or whatever.
$100 for it, which is many person. It's 1,200% profit on my initial investment. So
initial investment
in cash. I sold my Bitcoin at the top of the.
He sold his Bitcoin at the top. I wonder how much he had.
The market. I sold some gold. I'm profiting. I'm getting ready. Honestly, I'm getting ready for harsh economic times, because I think we're going to be faced with the economic crash of the kind that we may not have known very much in our lives. I think the economy is due for a crash, so it's time to cash out. If you have investments and trades, it's time to have cash, because let me tell you, in 6 months or a year from now, everyone's going to be thirsty for cash. Because unless we get a Fed expansionist policy of crazy proportions, but it's very hard to imagine how the Fed will outdo itself compared to what they did in COVID. You know, in COVID, they created money like never before. It's very hard to imagine that the Fed will outdo itself. So unless it outdoes itself and continue onto the exponential direction, if there has to be an economic crisis, it's going to have to happen in the next 5 years. And personally, I would recommend concentrate on value, on preserving value that will sustain an economic crisis.
Jesus Christ.
Have a home for yourself in which you don't have to pay rent. White nationalist says, I made the Big Short.
What? Hold on. White nationalist says that's someone's username in his chat. What a generic username, too. It just says what they are.
In 2019. Okay, you shorted. I don't remember. Was it?
Lick the legs. Please like the stream. Please consider contributing to the show. It's pinned at the top of the chat right there. Check it out. Send us your messages. $5 TTS. We're at 85.63%. That means we're just a little under $130 left to go.
Good short in 2019? I don't remember. Oh, so it was the COVID stuff. Okay, so you bet on the COVID stuff and you got out of profit. Okay, well, that's good. But yeah, I would recommend think about your survival, think about your food reserves, think about having cash and not needing it. Most importantly, live at the bottom, live low profile. I looked at all my expenses. I don't want any expenses except survival. That is what you should have. We have some questions coming on the chat. By the way, if you'd like to support the show, use the dollar button under the Odyssey chat. Odyssey super chats are my favorite way to receive support for the show. Alternatively, you can also use Entropy. The link to Entropy is in the description below. Chef Marv says, I'm mostly in 0.3 months U.S. Treasury bonds. Yields about 5.3%. Very liquid. Yes, I believe that.
It's a white power outage. Yeah, he's mad. I'm guessing he moved to Alberta. He said he moved somewhere very far away. He was in Prince Edward Island, and then he had to leave Quebec after that. And he said that it was like a really long way, and he was being like chased by the SWAT team.
I don't want to go back to work tomorrow. Can you donate me some money, Ben?
Yes, yeah, I'll get back to you on that one. Yeah.
You should be liquid. I'm not saying there won't be a last ride up with Bitcoin. Maybe there's going to be a last ride up. But if there's a last one, it will be short in time. And so personally, I pulled out.
But yeah, he overshares, and he said he lives in a much more conservative province than where he used to live in the eastern part of Canada. And he also, so it's probably not Ontario. And then he said that the place he lives is like rich in natural gas, and apparently Alberta's known for that. So he's already given away too much for people to figure out where he is. Yeah.
Most of my investment, most of my assets into cash. I believe that we are headed, not necessarily next week, but we are headed toward a crash of the economy. Ariel Suarez says, still feel kind of strange, but very pleasant to have JF back. Well, I'm happy to be back. It's very disconcerting to be passing 2 months without a show. Let me tell you, it's my life now, the show. And
I mean, he says now. I'm pretty sure you've been doing this for a while. You've been doing this just with different names for a long time.
Intend to die in front of the camera.
I don't like his thing. I don't like his little thing in the background. I don't know if it's table. Did he have it custom made? And then he has a moose that he said broke while he was traveling. Well, he wasn't traveling. He was fleeing the SWAT team, which is very weird. I don't know what he uses deceptive language, so I don't know if it was a literal SWAT team. Because he also said he was referring to getting arrested as being kidnapped.
Chef Marv says, not at all. The 10-year is at 4.5, peaked at 4.9 in 2023. I don't know about these things. Don't necessarily listen to me for economic counsel. I'm telling you what I perceive, what I see, and I'm a man of instincts. I don't have to be right. But let me tell you, I've been right a lot about understanding the Bitcoin waves that were coming. And I've been right a lot about telling you guys when to buy Bitcoin. Now, I'm such a conservative thinker. I may be set.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, he might have gotten into Bitcoin early. I don't know. So he might have made a lot of money on Bitcoin. You know, if like 10 years ago, Bitcoin, the price was so low, if you would have just bought like $1,000 of it, you'd have millions now. So maybe even like tens of millions. I'd have to go look at the price. Let's check out something else. Trying to figure out which one to play. Well, my lights just flickered. Oh, shit. I'm going to play this one just to experiment to see like if it's worth watching. I might just stop it within a few minutes. But we'll see if there's anything to this. Here it is. Did you know Ben Shapiro is a watch collector?
Well, folks, as some of you know, I'm a big watch fan, a bit of a watch collector, and so I wanted to go through with you how to build a watch collection from the very basics all the way on up to the very expensive.
Okay. Wow, this is some bougie shit. Seriously, he's got like gold and diamond watches and shit.
This video is sponsored by our friends over at Balance of Nature.
A watch is almost like unnecessary in my life. I don't like the feeling of something strapped around my wrist anyway. But then like if I want to know the time, I just look at my phone. I don't need the time like within like eyes range, you know, within the range of my vision constantly.
Well, folks, today we're not really going to...
Yeah, smartwatches are different because I still wouldn't like them personally. I don't like the feeling of like a wristband, you know? But I can get that because they're not as expensive as like a really expensive analog watch that's like gold and diamonds and shit. But at least with those kind of watches, you know, you can check things like you can look at the weather and they usually like track your steps and that kind of shit.
Get into the very, very expensive watch brands because, hell, you have to be really, really rich to afford those very expensive watch brands. Why don't we begin from the beginning? Why buy a nice watch in the first place? Now, the truth is, it ain't to keep the time, because if you really want a watch that keeps the time, your phone's going to do the best job.
What's the point then?
It's really to look nice. That's all it is. It's a piece of jewelry, essentially. Let's go through some of the parts of the watch. A bunch of different parts of the watch, and we can explain kind of what you're looking at. Number one, the dial. Okay, this is the thing that everybody thinks of when they think of the watch. The dial is the face of the watch. Some of them are quite beautiful. Some of them are very plain. But that is the thing that people are mostly thinking of when they think of the watch. They're thinking of the dial of the watch. Second, there's the case. Sort of the part that goes right around the dial of the watch. Sometimes you'll see engravings on the inside. Rolex very frequently will have an engraving on the case of the watch. Then there's the crystal. That's the glass or the acrylic.
By the way, I'm trying to find something. I'm going to put this out there. I don't know where to find it. I need help. And there's enough people here where like at least a couple of you might be able to figure it out. Apparently Sturgis did a debate with some guy a guy that kind of looks like Eric July a little bit, but doesn't agree with Sturgis, and I can't find it. And Sturgis reacted to a different video, but didn't react to the actual video of the debate, and I don't know where it is. I don't know if it was ever publicly available. I just want to see it. I want to watch it really bad. So if someone out there knows about that, just let me know.
The top of the watch. So older watches tend to feature acrylic. If you get like an old Rolex from the 1970s, for example, it's very easily scratched. I remember the first Rolex that I ever got was an older Rolex.
The first Rolex you ever got? Most people, if they have a Rolex, it's their first one and their only one.
It was very easy to scratch it, and I got irritated with it because every so often I'd just scratch it, I'd have to replace the lens. Then there are the lugs. The lugs are the things that are going to connect the case to the actual bracelet or strap of the watch, and they're usually connected by some form of pin or screws to the actual bracelet. Then you have the crown. The crown is the thing that you pull out, depending on what
the thing that you pull out.
That you have a watch that has a date on the face of it, on the dial of it. It may have 2 or 3 different settings when you pull out the crown of the watch. Okay, now you have the buckle. The buckle is the part that actually is going to hold it together, right? Just like a belt buckle.
I like how he's explaining all the little pieces.
And then finally, you have the strap or the bracelet. Strap is typically used for either cloth or leather, and bracelet is used for metal. Okay, those are the different parts of the watch. Okay, then you have different functions of the watch. So many watches will have complications. So a basic analog watch looks just like an analog clock, the YMCA clock with a couple of hands that are going around. Then you have a chronograph. Chronographs have the ability to push a button and time, so you can start and stop the clock. So a watch like the one that I'm wearing here, actually, this is a Zenith Rolex Daytona. So they actually switch some of the dials and sort of.
I mean, it's like, ooh, look at the shiny, I just, no desire to have one. It's nice looking. It is weird to have like metal links on your arm too. And if you have like arm hair, your arm hair will get caught in them. I do have a watch. It's not an expensive one. We were sponsored by a watch company years ago, and they sent me a free watch. And it's not like gold or anything like that. It's not valuable metals or anything, but it is a metal watch and it looks cool. But I put it on my wrist and it was like, I just didn't like the way it felt.
Modern Daytona. So this piece right here, this what looks like the second hand.
Yeah, it was movement. Yeah, it was a movement watch.
Is not, in fact, a second hand normally. You'll see that the part that's moving here is the second hand, right at the 9 o'clock position. This is the timer, right? So if I were to hit this top dial, this starts and stops it, and this resets it back to 0. So this right here at the 3 o'clock position is a 30-minute counter, and down here is a 12-hour counter in the 6 o'clock position. So that's if you would leave your timer running for a while. Okay, then you have different styles, so many different styles of watches. Those range from aviator watches, which look like a watch that a pilot would use, to racing watches. Most famously, like Tag Heuer makes racing watches. You see those in a lot of the movies. Diver watches, the most famous of those would be like the Rolex Submariner. So those were actually designed to dive with, so they
Why do you need a watch when you're diving? Is anyone here a diver? Is a watch important? Do you just need a watch is there a watch for every occasion?
Are waterproof, and you can take them underwater, so you can wear like a very expensive Rolex. Field watches.
Why would you want to wear a very expensive Rolex while you're diving? If it came off, you'd probably never find it again.
Which, again, are sort of a military-looking watch.
Do they have depth trackers on them? Really?
And you have fashion watches. Fashion watches.
That is cool looking, where you get to see all the gears and everything. I think that looks cool.
They're like Fossil, so they tend to be less expensive. They're just for pretty. They don't have more functionality. They don't look like military watches or diver watches or whatever. If you're just getting a collection started, a fashion watch is a really good way to do that. So Fossil makes really good-looking fashion watches. For example, I remember some of my first watches were Fossil watches. They're very cool. Luxury watches starts to basically, it just means expensive. Like the more you get up on the scale, the more it starts to look less like a fashion watch and more like a luxury watch. Probably if you're spending more than a couple $1,000s, you're now in the realm of luxury watches. Probably more than $1,000, you might be in the realm of luxury watch. And then finally, dress watches. These are the things that you see people wear tuxedos with. All right, folks, we'll get to more on this in just 1 second.
No, I will not. Wow, that's a long ad. Whoa, another ad. All right. Whoa, the ad. Wow, this is a long ad. All right, there we go.
Collection. So the first watches that I owned were fashion watches. Right? These are things like Fossil or Tissot or Seiko. I would recommend, by the way, at these price levels, that you try to buy used. Because if you buy new, they immediately degrade. Just the way that you would buy a new car, it loses a lot of its value once you come off the lot. You can go to a site like Chrono24 and you can buy yourself a used watch, and they've already absorbed a lot of the downside. One of my favorite things to do is a historically refurbished watch. So you can actually go and you can find on eBay World War II watches that were in combat or that somebody was issued during World War II. A lot of them don't run really well, but for a couple of $100 you can take it to a watchmaker and they can fix the guts of the watch, they can fix the insides of the watch, and then it'll run fine. This is one of my first watches. They are really quite tiny, very many of them. They look very
It was an ad within an ad within an ad.
Small by today's standards, but it is very cool because you own a piece of history. So I recommend that to people who are looking at kind of that lower price point but want something different, unique, and cool. So if you're building a collection, okay, and you're building a collection for the long term, you want to pass it on to your kids, you want it to increase in value over time, there's what are called the big three. The big three, I'm skipping forward a little bit. The big three are typically Patek Philippe, Vacheron Constantin, and Audemars Piguet. Those are known as the big three.
Piguet.
They do hold their value.
Audemars Piguet.
Over time. Now, I will say they've taken a severe value hit over the course of the last couple of years. Because
that's Ben's favorite.
A couple of years ago, when inflation started to kick in, there were a bunch of Bitcoin billionaires who lost a lot of money, and they started flooding the market with some of these watches. So if you, like I did, bought some expensive watches a couple of years ago, you picked the wrong time to buy those watches. But if you wait long enough, they will go back up. Longines makes really pretty stuff. Omega makes beautiful stuff. There's a bunch of stuff from Omega that's really nice. I have a bunch of Omega watches, actually. I have one of my first watches was given to me.
Why do they keep doing this? I don't like the adult Ben Shapiro face on a little kid's body wearing 4 watches. I don't like it.
By my grandmother, because my grandfather had owned it. It was an Omega Constellation. That's like $700, $800 probably. Some of the new Omega watches are really pretty. Like the James Bond watch, I really love. I wear that one all the time. Tag Heuer, as I mentioned before.
The James Bond watch.
Like a used tag for under $3,000. Breitling makes really pretty watches. One of my first watches was a Breitling.
Now he's wearing 5 of them.
Ocean. Again, folks, watch collection isn't for everyone, so I'm giving everybody sort of a gradation here of what you're willing to spend. And frankly, if you're looking for investment, buy stocks. Like, don't buy watches if you're
buy socks. Oh, he said stocks. I thought he said socks at first. I'm like, what?
Looking for an investment. It's more of a hobby than anything else. If you're looking up to like $10,000, then you could get a used Rolex Submariner, which is sort of the baseline as a
$10,000 watch just seems insane to me.
Classic luxury watch, and there's so many watches that are based on the Rolex.
Like a $10,000 guitar seems insane to me.
Rolex Submariner, one of the watch brands that's kind of in the under 10 grand range, that's really beautiful and looks more expensive than it is a Jaeger-LeCoultre, JLC. Beautiful watch. There's one called the Reverso that's a very cool watch that actually has 2 faces on it, some of them. So it actually, you pop out the face of the watch, flip it over, screw it back in, and now it has a completely different face on the watch, which is really, really neat.
It's like a transformer.
Originally, it was designed for people who played polo. So it would flip out and it wouldn't have a second face. It would flip it over and it would just be a hard case back. And that meant that that if it got scratched up, you wouldn't care. It wouldn't break the glass on the watch. So there you go. There's like a full, quick rundown of various watches at various price points. So this is a very basic intro. I'm sure I got a bunch of things wrong. Remember, I'm not an actual watch expert. There are plenty of people who know way more than I do. So
You're crazy. You're crazy, man. I kind of enjoyed Ben Shapiro talking about something he like. I think it's crazy to collect expensive watches, but I guess he is rich. So that's a rich man's hobby right there, collecting expensive watches. But here's the thing. I found it easier to watch him talk about that than talk about politics and be mad about the gays and all that. So he is out of touch with the people who watch him. Like, what percentage of his viewers do you think are collect Rolexes and shit and know all the... I didn't recognize any of those brand names except for like what do you say? Omega. I think I recognize that. And Rolex. Most of them, I was just like, huh, never heard of that before. That wet-ass P word. Fossil, yeah. No Timex, though. I remember the Timex commercials when I was a kid. Swatch. Yeah, Swatch. Let's see here. Oh, shit. Oh. Just checking something out here. Bear with me just a moment. Trying to get a video here. Huh, that's weird. I guess I'll just play it from the browser. I was trying to download this video. I usually download it rather than play it from the browser, but it's being difficult. Holy shit. Okay. So I was sent the Sturgis debate, which I'm very excited about. Bud. Okay. Oh my God. All right.
Dyed orange sun-kissed is good stuff. Orange soda is always good. For my purposes, I am drinking some aged Tennessee whiskey. It's a James Ownby's. And by the way, they do aged 8 years Tennessee crap. But to get I can see left his favorite.
Let's get to the Sturgis part.
Like, what's going on?
No, Barry is the Canadian guy.
Oh, dude, I think doesn't he like drink like a ton of maple syrup at some point?
Here's Sturgis.
It wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, he's the Canadian representation.
Canadian.
It wouldn't surprise me if he's not chugging that maple syrup.
The Punch Out was the stereotypes in Punch Out were hilarious.
Punch Out was an awesome series in general. I love Punch Out. You want to talk about a series they couldn't make today? I think Renowned is here. Renowned, you here, man?
I'm here.
What's going on, man? What's going on? So. Alrighty, so I think we are ready. I guess we'll start by they know what we're drinking, but Renowned, what the heck are you drinking, my man?
He doesn't drink, Bud.
I don't drink.
I don't drink, Bud.
Don't drink, straight edger. So you're in good company. OJ also drinks water and diet orange Sunkiss. So the cheese stands alone in drinking some good old aged Tennessee whiskey. So, all right. So now that everybody's here, down to brass tacks. A couple weeks back, we all had a little bit of a disagreement, and just wanted to kind of air the air here. And I guess we'll start. Who wants to start? Something about Dragon Quest and sales, and I sort of remember.
Can I start? My hands up. You guys can't see my hand. My hands up.
Okay. All right.
So essentially. The only reason why I want to start is because it started with my one tweet that I had. I put up a tweet And I'm going to read it verbatim. It says, GriftTubers real quiet about Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D remake right now. I wonder why. That's all I put. You know, I didn't name any names. I didn't say anybody. I just said they're real quiet. It was really just more of a playful, silly joke. It wasn't really anything super anything because I didn't see anybody say anything about the sales numbers.
Well, I saw it. I laughed.
Yes! Thank you so much, Jay Spoon. There we go. Now we're so close, bud. I'm gonna kind of rework the title of this stream a little bit too. We'll get back to it in just a minute here. 97.63%. That means we got $27.31. The laugh that haunts your dreams. There's other ones too. Like if you go, like 22, 32, 42, they all have, they're not all different, but there's a bunch of hidden ones out there. So
yeah, exactly. It wasn't meant to be anything more than that. But of course, Twitter, people take Twitter like crazy. So then that's when Renown came in, and I guess you can say what you say. But the main thing that I'm disputing from what you said here, Renown, is you said 2 million shipped, not sold. And people are calling out the design of Akira Toriyama and male female. So basically you're like defending maybe who you think I'm coming after. But I want to ask you just one question. Okay, I'm just going to ask you one question, Renown.
Why does he mumble so much?
Sure. Did you know that I actually also made a video saying that I don't like the changes from the whole design thing? Did you know that I made one too?
I don't specifically subscribe to you. I actually told Flippin this. I really only know you from Spawncast. So
okay. So just to let you know, I wasn't calling out.
You are a specifically JRPG guy. I know that.
Yeah. Just to let you know, I never said that people who, say stuff like that, like call out like the whole thing, like with the male, female, blah blah blah, whatever, is grifting. I never said that, and I made a video specifically saying I don't like that. You know what I'm saying? So I never said that people who say that are grifting. So that's like the first exception that I took with what you did, is like you don't even know what I even said about that, and I never mentioned any names. So you took the time to quote tweet me and try to misappropriate what I was thinking when I made a video saying the same thing, like, hey, I don't like this, I don't like the whole censorship thing or whatever the case is. And I never said that people who point that out are grifting. So yeah, I
don't think I ever said that you actually said that. But I did make a video as well about the
no uneven numbers. Thank you for getting that to a nice even number. Well, I mean, there's no more pennies on it, but it's at 881. So it's still it's an odd number, I guess. Yeah.
Well as the body type for A and B of Dragon Quest 2D HD. My problem with most people is the fact that I can call that out, and people will sit there and say, "Oh, well, you're not a Dragon Quest fan.
They'll sit
you
there.
Don't post anything about Dragon Quest," and I'm just sitting here like,
They'll
I
sit
can still have an
there.
opinion on something I disagree with because I am typically anti-censorship, no matter what game series or what game it is. I'm typically all in on the whole anti-censorship, no matter what kind of censorship it is. 'Cause
Okay.
I even called out the fact that the Square Enix did the change in Final Fantasy VII Remake where they censored the flashback of Tifa 4 years after the game released. I didn't like that either. So
Yeah, but
I
what?
don't know if you had the same thoughts about that, but
Yeah, but what does that have to do with my post about me saying grifters are real quiet?
Well, so here's what's
that doesn't.
ironic. You guys are actually, like, both of you guys are actually probably more in sync with each other than you are on me, because I actually thought the thing with Dragon Quest
actually,
was
bud.
really stupid. We're talking about we're talking about what, man? We're talking about 5 centimeters of some thigh. Is that what we're talking about here?
It was what I called out was the fact that the developers were lamenting about a number of different things. And I said, okay, well, I don't like the fact that it went far beyond just that, but that's what I made a video on talking about. Like I said, what I thought was weird, and this is the Twitter, type of thing, is like when I just say grifters are real quiet and then people make assumptions that I was talking about the body type A, B, or whatever. I wasn't even talking about that. I was simply talking about people who talk about things, who don't actually play the games, that they grift online. They don't care about Dragon Quest. They don't talk about
I know nothing about Dragon
Quest, but their thing is to be a pundit and to grift online to make money off. To make money off of people, okay? And they don't care about Dragon Quest at all.
Don't worry, Sturgis isn't making any money.
They do all this stuff, and then when a game actually does do well, they have nothing to say. They're silent. But if a game sells bad, all of a sudden it's go woke, go broke. Oh, see, I told you so. Nobody bought it. But if a game does well, then it's that doesn't fit my narrative. That doesn't fit what I want.
I definitely hear.
So now, I'm not going to talk about the sales. I'm not going to talk about any of that because it doesn't fit my narrative, and that's who I was calling out.
Well,
I was calling out those people.
Yeah, the same people. The same people that if it does well enough, they'll even appropriate it and they'll say, "Hey, this game was never woke at all." Like, never mind that there's a game where you're clapping ass cheeks with a bear. Like, no, that's not woke. That's our game. That's our boys right there. Now all of a sudden,
there are most people that they will call out the censorship and they actually say if they were wrong that they would admit they're actually wrong and they would tell you about that type of stuff. Now specifically, there are people like I know of a content creator by the name of Vara Dark. Specifically, like she definitely was one of those people who called out said censorship, and she actually
said
played
censorship
Dragon Quest to the HD because it seems to be this thing where if somebody calls out something like that, and they'll say, "Well, what is it? If you don't like it, don't buy it." And then there are people that are like, "Well, you should give the game a chance, then make an opinion." It's like, well, you can't make an opinion about it before, and then if you buy the game, you're a shill or drifting on it instead of. And they're telling you, "Oh, well, if you don't, you should test it out." And there are people that actually test it out and they give their opinion, and after saying, "Well, this is I don't like this thing in this game," or they give their opinion. What I'm simply saying is, someone giving their opinion is not really a grift. If giving opinion before something comes out, they wait for
it's your opinion, bud.
Okay, well, maybe I was wrong here, maybe I was wrong there, and they're like, okay, well, this wasn't as terrible because I'm sure there are people in your community that kind of agree with that whole thing about, if they're calling out this and that, and then when they'll actually play it and go, well, this thing changes
this or that, bud.
I know this is kind of an off-topic thing, but I know that things that I definitely something I also hate is the fact that PlayStation will put their games on PC and then they'll block countries. Like they'll say you need a PSN login, and people call it out.
You're getting off topic. You're all over the place, brother. Like I see what you're trying to say, but I think the biggest issue, man, is that you let a lot of people online affect how you think about things. The fact that you just went all the way to PSN right now and all that, it tells me that you are online a lot, letting people say this and that, especially if you're listening to Vera Dark, especially if you're listening to her. Now, and if she played the game and whatever, that's fine. I didn't call her out specifically or anything, but what I'm saying is that there are a lot of people which don't like Dragon Quest, that don't know anything about Dragon Quest, that simply had a lot to say beforehand And then now at this point, they've got nothing to say. They don't play it. They're just doing it because they can make money on it offline. That is the grifting part. When you just say it just because, hey, look, I've built up this audience that doesn't play, that doesn't care about X, Y, and Z, but they care about this. And I can spin it one way that fits with their ideology or political or whatever. And and it's moved off of actually playing games. Good for her if she played it, but it's moved off of actually playing games and saying, hey, this is good or bad, to this is this one thing. I'm going to be angry. I'm going to start a movement online and all that. And gamers didn't do that. Back then, even if we didn't like something, you would say, hey, this is whatever, but I'm going to try the game out, or let's wait and see what happens. You've got these people that are, before anything even starts, they're going ballistic online. And that's who I called out, because once again, they're saying stuff like go woke, go broke. And then when it doesn't go broke.
I just fixed the thumbnail for this episode. I'm taking Ben Gleck out of this thumbnail. I'm replacing
like
it.
You. This is what you did over and over. Quote tweeting me a million times.
I've never made an excuse, actually.
No, quote tweet. No, hold up.
I've just told you what shipped means versus sold. I said, see, when it comes to something like Square Enix, because what they've done, even with Remake, Final Fantasy VII Remake and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, they were adamant in telling you how many copies they sold. So now with Dragon Quest, because it's not doing as good as Final Fantasy VII Remake or Rebirth, as you know, it'll say, Remake in 3 years made 7 million sold. It doesn't say 7 million shipped.
No.
So why is it that now?
I'm out.
Why is it now?
Incorrect. You're incorrect. They always use ship numbers. When you look at Final Fantasy 16, when you look at the first sales numbers overall, Final Fantasy 15, they always say shipped. What you're talking about is sold through. You don't know that term because you're not knowledgeable on any of this.
It says right here.
No,
it says
listen.
right here.
Listen,
buddy.
buddy.
Right here, base.
Buddy, listen. Renown, listen. They said sales, okay? When the manufacturer, publisher, Square Enix, when they ship it to the store buys it from them. On their books, it is sold. Now, if you go to the Famitsu sales, we already know that to actual customers, it sold over 1 million units. We know that. So when they put out a press release saying, hey, it's sold more than 2 million, they mean sold, shipped, digitally downloaded.
So
you adjusted. At first you said shipped, and then you adjusted to downloaded plus shipped. I know what shipped versus sold through means.
Hold on,
but
guys.
when you're talking about sales, hold up. When you're talking about sales, that is when the publisher says, hey, we have sold that to the retailer. It is out. It's on our books. Sold through is something that they might get a little bit later down the line. So you might hear about it down the line, but early, they're just going to talk about what they've sold in stores, what they've actually shipped to the retailers, and what they've digitally downloaded. That's what the sales are. That's why you see sells more. That's why you see shipped, downloaded. It's all combined. And once again, we know that the game is selling in stores because we have Famitsu to tell us that it's sold over 1 million copies, not shipped into them, but actually sold to customers.
So this is where I want to
Correct.
interject real quick, guys.
What I'm saying is exactly what this says here. As a press release that was announced on September 16, 2023, it literally says they've sold over 7 million copies. So what is the difference here? Where
was that the first press release? Was that the first press release?
That was this was September 16th, 2023. It literally says.
When did that game come out?
2020.
So go look up when they said in 2020, then come back. That's what I want you to do.
Here's the thing, guys. We are in semantic hell.
Do some research.
We're not in semantic hell because this guy is trying to talk. Hold up. This guy's trying to talk about sales numbers like he knows something.
I know, but I'm gonna try.
He just got on the internet talking about sales right now, and he's talking about 3 years later about because it's been 3 years. They have a better grasp.
I'm gonna try.
They have a better grasp of what's been sold.
I get it.
They've had a hold up, real quick. Let me just explain this. I promise I'll let you talk, Flippin', so it's my bad. They have a better grasp of what's been sold 3 years after the game has came out, so they can say, "Oh yeah, we've sold this many." If you get a press release within the first month or the first couple of weeks or the first few days, it's always going to be, "Hey, we've shipped this many. It sells this many," and it's going to be the ship numbers plus the numbers sold in stores, the first day sales.
Oh, this guy has too many facts.
No, and there's some companies. In fact, most companies.
Too many facts for Sturgis.
It's very rare that you actually hear the sold through. And here's and that's why I want to get, and that's what I want to get into, guys. is why I feel like we're kind of in a semantic hell right now. I want to get us out. I'm going to try a different method in order to do that. So, Renown, you say shipped, okay? And you say, okay, ship to, or ship. When they ship those,
that's factually incorrect that it's 2 million shipped, though.
I get it.
That's factually incorrect.
I'm gonna assume this. I
just want to put that out there that it's factually incorrect that it's 2 million shipped.
Okay.
It's factually incorrect.
Correct.
Okay.
But I want to assume his position real quick. So let's go from the fact that it's shipped. Let's assume it's 2 million shipped. Where do those ship to? Do those ship into the Scythian abyss, never to be seen again, or where are those going?
It's shipped in bulk to retailers all around the country.
Retailers who did what? I guess is my question. Did they just get that for free, or
they get it at a huge discount due to it being in bulk, and then they raise the price based on
it's retail. It's wholesale versus retail
store, which is why they can buy it at a very cheap price and then sell it to you for $60 or $70 in the store. Which
I would not say very. I would not say very cheap. And keep in mind, now you're in my forte, my man.
It's cheaper, but it's not like. I don't know what the markup is for video games. You guys could tell me.
I do retail, right? That's one of the things that I do at an executive level.
That's incorrect. MSRP. What does MSRP stand for? That's manufacturer suggested retail price. Who is the manufacturer? That is Nintendo. That is Square Enix. They're the ones who make so that is what they suggest the retail price is. Manufacturers,
in order to make their profit, yes.
Yeah, and retailers can do whatever they want. They can charge at a different price, but they usually go with manufacturer suggested retail price, which is what the company tells them to put the price at, so they can actually make a profit. It's a very slim profit.
Yeah, the point being is it's not going to be a massive.
Just a little bit about this. Because of a food service place I used to work at. Because
the way God,
there was they bought obviously it's not retail, but it's food service.
I worked at Wendy's for a week, but I know about retail.
Where they would, it's McDonald's. They
I knew it. I knew he worked like in fast food, and now he's going to pretend like he understands the retail business.
They would buy. What they would do is they would buy a box of meat.
Yeah, we know. They buy their stuff at a wholesale price and then they sell it at a retail price. That's how everything works.
Be 500 patties in a box. They buy for 69 cents and sell to you for $1. Kind of like that.
Yeah, 69 cents. And that for food service, that's about right. Yeah, margins are anywhere from 8 to 10% typically in food service. In hard retail, margins are anywhere from 2 to 7%. 7% at the very top. So so yeah, we're talking a difference, but yeah. But the point being is, and I think there's a real argument to be made from your perspective here in terms of if we're talking about just hard sales numbers, shipped is you got to understand to a company that gets to spend something to their investors, shipped, even if it's just shipped is just as good as sold. We got your money, bro. It's just as good as sold. Now, from a cultural impact, are we playing Dragon Quest? Are we talking about Dragon Quest? Are we debating Dragon Quest? Is Dragon Quest in the public conversation?
Poop Bisky. He's a poo-poo head Bisky.
That's where the second aspect gets to, which is where is Dragon Quest in the public convo, right? And that's where the actual sold to customers comes in. I make that point all the time with Mario, with things like 3D Zelda, with things like Metroid, etc., which is, okay, it's one thing for the games to sell, but how long are they in the public conversation? And what is the cultural impact of these games? Two very different conversations, both well worth having. So if we're talking the cultural impact, I get where you're coming from. But if we're talking just sales, and what OJ is trying to say is, one, yeah, it's not factually correct because there's also digital downloads, there's other things. Those are right directly into the customer hands. But shipped is, in terms of the investors and what they're going to see when they go to crow to the investors, shipped to retailers is just as gold as sold to customers. Like that's all they want to hear is, hey, did you sell the units? And they can say, yes, we sold the units.
I also want to point out one quick thing. They also have not given us the sales. You said that they've given us the sales numbers for Rebirth. They have not given us the sales numbers for Rebirth. So just want to put that out there as well. we've gotten the sales number.
It's 7 million. What is it? They had a huge. What was it? There was a flop with Rebirth. Like they had a very low sales expectation of Rebirth.
I'm saying that they haven't given us the sales numbers. You said that they have not given us the sales numbers for Rebirth.
Sturgis is
I said remake and integrate.
Yeah, remake and integrate. Those are old. So
Sturgis is a re. That's very true. I agree. He is indeed a re.
Those are on big install base, but they have not given us the sales numbers. I mean, you said that they were trying to fluff. From what I recall in your tweet here, you said that they fluffed their numbers.
So I stated that with sales for Dragon Quest, because it's 2 million shipped and digital downloads, of course. It's similar
and sold to customers as well. But.
So by the way, we're $13 away from the goal. Just putting that out there, just tossing that your way. $13.
Well, and I'm not going to.
There it is.
I'm not going.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you for everything. We got it. Now let me start the new week.
Going to contest fluffy numbers because they're a corporation. They all do that.
Right.
I don't think 2 million. I don't think 2 million is fluffing. Like for Dragon.
I get it. Yeah.
And here's the reason why I don't think it's fluffing. I don't think it's fluffing because we have Famitsu. Famitsu has told us they've sold 950,000 physical units. The game is #1 in Japan in terms of digital sales. We can see that Amazon. You can go on different retailers. You can see the sellouts in the stores that they're shipping it to, like the stores across Japan. So 2 million isn't some type of crazy number for a historically great selling franchise. So I don't see where fluff is. You need evidence to say that there's fluff with that.
Why I say it's fluff because the previous Dragon Quest sold 4 million more than this one. And
in the first 3 weeks,
people would say that Dragon Quest 3 is probably one of the better ones. People typically when I hear the conversation, Dragon Quest 11. So when I hear the conversation, when I ask people what are the best Dragon Quests, they'll typically name 3, 8, and 11S for some.
Oh, you broke my heart, Renowned. You forgot 5. Forgot Hand of the Heavenly Bride.
Well, I'm talking about like as a general consensus.
I get it, but it still breaks my heart.
The last Dragon Quest was Dragon Quest
11.
It was the Dark Prince, if I recall. That was the last Dragon Quest game that sold 1 million in about about a month or something like that. I know it sold like about 1 million.
Right, but I'm using the numbered ones, not like the spin-offs or knockoffs like Quest Builders and all that stuff.
So how much did Dragon Quest 11? That's the main. That's not a remake.
11S.
Yeah,
11S was over 6.5 million
in the first 3 weeks.
Probably overall.
Yeah, well, that game's been out for a very long time. What's the comparison for?
We got to get Shabisky. We got to get a group together to play Marvel. What is it called? What's that new Marvel game called? I'm drawing a blank right now because I got really high. Rivals, Marvel Rivals. Yeah, that's what it is.
The comparison is why wouldn't Dragon Quest 3 remake, since it's one of the more renowned.
You got to make it work on your computer.
That not as close in comparison.
I mean,
what was the sales for the first 3 weeks of Dragon Quest 11S?
I don't have the sales numbers. I don't have the sales numbers for.
That's why I'm saying I don't understand this guy's comparison. He's comparing a game that's been out since 2018, and he's comparing the overall sales to a game that came out November 14th.
I don't have the sales for Dragon Quest 11's first few weeks, but I have what I think is a better comparison is a guy that crunches data, and that's the initial, what is called the initial period, which I think is like the first 1 to 3 months is typically what in video games the initial opening period. Dragon Quest 3 in 1988 I have, right? I think that's a better comparison. So with population increase accounted for, and that's only, now to be fair, that's only one of many macroeconomic trends. You've also got, markets, closed markets. So, for example, the Soviet Union, large blocks of China didn't have access to Dragon Quest 3.
So
this was really a Japan-only release. So
Sturgis was bitching.
But Dragon Quest in its opening period.
So I guess there's some woke shit in Dragon Quest that Sturgis doesn't like, and said that's why their sales were bad. And they're like, their sales weren't bad. The actual retail sales data takes a while to come through, and we have all of this wholesale data where the game developer was selling the game to retailers, and it sold very well to retailers, because that's actually who that's actually who they sell it to on a retail side. Those are their actual customers. But now there's digital gaming stores where you can just buy it directly from them, right?
I don't know. I think it's doing pretty good based on that comparison. But
I'm looking at it as this game's been re-released a number of times.
I don't know anything about Dragon
More
Quest,
times that you re-release something. I mean, yes, they got the new graphics, but it's Dragon Quest 3. We've had releases on Nintendo Switch. We've had it on Game Boy. We've had it on various different platforms in terms of things. But yes, they've got the new HD 2D graphics for it. So I'm looking at Dragon Quest 11S, or Dragon Quest 11. If you're looking at Dragon Quest 11S, that was on the Switch. That definitely did not do 2 million in 3 weeks. The original Dragon Quest 11, that was on PlayStation 4, and that was on Nintendo 3DS. And
yeah, the name seems to tell us a lot about
it. I know
it.
that sold really well, but that's a mainline number game.
The first 2 days in Japan. That's the original Dragon Quest 11.
Yeah, and what I'm saying is that is a mainline numbered new big game. That is not a remake or a re-release. Usually remakes and re-releases don't do as well as the biggest mainline like new games in the series. Usually, yeah, in general, they usually don't do as well. So I don't know why you would compare it to that. I mean, it's not a brand new game. It's been re-released. It's an HD 2D now, but
there you go. So this game sold over 2 million physical, whereas this is only 950K according to your stats. So
it's in Japan. It's not.
This is Japan. This is Japan, right?
Yeah, and
2
so
million,
what?
2 million physical copies in Japan.
No, I said that it sold about 950K that we can track right now in Japan.
Right now, I'm comparing it to Dragon Quest 11 sales, which you told me to find the sales numbers for. It says on the first 2 days of sale in Japan, over 2 million physical copies.
Okay.
Specifically, Nintendo 3DS, 1.13 million, PS4, 0.95 million.
Yeah, you're still comparing Dragon Quest 11, and I just explained to you that remakes don't do as well as big brand new series like when it comes to the brand new series. So I don't understand this comparison. And even if you do want to compare it is somewhat, actually no, because it's the first number of days, but that's not a great comparison. And once again, it's a big brand new game versus
how long do they go back and forth on this point?
A number of times. I don't understand this comparison. It makes no sense. And
You asked me why I said it was a fluff.
Sure.
That doesn't prove that it's a fluff, brother. That doesn't prove that it's a fluff. You're just making up stuff. That doesn't prove that it's a fluff.
This is sold, which is actual sales, whereas shipped is again from the manufacturer to a retailer. It's no different from comic books where they track shipped numbers and not sales, actual sales. It's the same thing.
What did you use to find those sales? What did you use? You used Famitsu, right?
No. Let's see. I can probably find it on Famitsu. Let's see.
I mean, I just can't believe we're back to ship versus sold. I thought we were past this.
I mean, listen,
Famitsu, yes. Famitsu. Yes.
Okay, so you use Famitsu to get those sales, right? You use Famitsu to get the sales. Once again, there's no evidence. There's Famitsu sales that you can look for when it comes to Dragon Quest. We can see the sales numbers on there. You're comparing a big brand new release to a re-release. Big brand new releases usually do better than re-releases. So what? Where is the fluff?
A re-release of one of the most popular games in the franchise that people have been waiting a while to be remade.
And it's been re-released multiple times.
So much so that they made a collection, and they're doing remakes for 1 and 2 as well.
And what's your point?
You asked me why I think it's a fluff, and I just told you.
They will
come out and tell you it's 2 million sold for Dragon Quest. So why won't they just tell you it's 2 million sold for the 2D HD remake? They'll just use shipped because they can't tell you how many.
Because we haven't had an investor Q&A or quarterly yet.
No. Here's the problem. What you're doing is that you're talking about the Famitsu sales and saying, oh, they're fluffing it because of shipped compared to what their announcement was before then for once again a big brand new game. Get me the press release for what they said back then we can compare press release to press release. But when it comes to Famitsu, They don't announce the Famitsu sales. They announce what
they're
they
really
have. Companies don't use, at least
Sturgis won't admit that he doesn't know what he's talking
in their
about.
Press releases. If you look at FF7 Remake, you look at all of that. They all say the same thing with sales. It sells, and they say shipped. It sells because they sold it to the retailer. You have not provided anything that says that there's fluff. I'm sorry.
Here's the press release for Dragon Quest XI, the same type of press release that they did for a 2D HD remake. Echoes of Elusive Age shipments and digital sales top 4 million. That's the same exact.
So they did the exact same thing they did with Dragon. You tried to say that they just said sales. They did the exact same thing.
They did say sales.
He won't. He can't. Sturgis can't admit that he doesn't know what he's talking about, and he can't admit Eric July makes any mistakes. That's how you know he's not genuine about what he's saying, because he's stuck in a place where he has to keep arguing the things he believes in, and he can never waver on it.
Sales, and I found the press release that they put out.
Exactly, they said sales. Thank you.
Exact same thing.
They renowned, so you can so the chat can see what you're talking about. Is there a way you can post that picture of that to the Discord just so people can see what you're talking about? Perfect.
Oh, I can link it.
Yeah.
They said exactly what I said that they would say. Total worldwide shipments and digital sales for Dragon Quest XI.
So
what?
4 million shipments, but they can tell you 2 million sold. Why are they fluffing 4 million units shipped and digital downloads?
They're not.
It's again the same. It's the same exact. Bro, it's the same exact thing. Comic book companies.
They're not fluffing anything. What you're doing is that you seem to be upset because they say ship, because they ship something, and because they get their money. I don't think you knew that they actually get their money when they ship something, but whatever.
Well,
I don't think you.
I get this.
I don't think you knew that. I don't think you knew that, but whatever.
I actually did know that.
He's calling Sturgis a dipshit.
Hold on now.
Let's just say that you didn't know that. Let's just say that you
because
didn't know that. Whatever.
I made a comparison to comic books. It's the same thing.
Right. Here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing. I get the suspicion with corporations. I get it. Corporations lie. They fluff. They do all that.
It does sound like Ethan Ralph.
Again, I think what OJ's saying and what I'm looking at is like.
But he doesn't sound drunk enough.
And then there's a level that is worthy of this outrage. And I guess what I'm not seeing is I'm not seeing where any of this is worthy of the outrage that has been drummed up about this. I guess is for my. So try to explain it to me like I'm 5.
There's no fluff because we can see factually that the game has sold nearly 1 million just in Japan. If they were fluffing numbers, that number in Japan would be way lower. It would be way, because that doesn't count America, Europe, and all the other places. Now, if they said that this game is sold 5 million shipped and whatever, and we saw that it's only sold like a couple 100,000 in Japan where Dragon Quest is strongest, then yeah, I would say, that seems a bit off. They've barely sold the Famitsu this, but they've sold 1 million. So 50% of the total that they've said that they have shipped plus digital download, they've actually sold 50% of that. And that's once again not including Europe, not including the US, not including other regions. Where is the fluff? They're selling what they're saying that they're selling and shipping.
Historically, there won't be much trail coming in for Dragon Quest in the US or Europe, to be fair.
Exactly. That's why the bulk, nearly 50% of nearly 50% is in Japan. And we can see that,
it's a series that never really has managed to make it out of Japan yet.
Outside of Dragon Quest XI, Dragon Quest XI did really good in the US and in lots of regions. And that was Dragon Quest XI. But yeah, all ships
skip ahead a little bit.
The Famitsu sales or whatever, the
exact same thing. When they claim that their industry,
this is not a comic book company. Okay, so that's the first thing that I'd say. And that
do the same thing. They do the same thing. They claim things are shipped.
You have no proof. You have no proof. You're just saying conspiracy theories. You're just going off of a conspiracy.
I think the disconnect here, Renowned, is the comic book industry is going to be a paper industry. And again, I'm not as familiar with that, but you mentioned right off the bat that there's these super high margins, and I can see that with something like a print comic, but you don't have that necessarily the same profit margins you have in video games, which are going to be a little bit lower because of the higher cost of manufacturing a Blu-ray disc or a Switch cartridge, manufacturing cost versus the cost of print and paper. So I think maybe the disconnect is maybe this is a bigger deal in the comics than it is in the video games, and so maybe that's why it gets called out more consistently. I know you come from the comic books space, so I do see that consistently called out in the comics book space. But I don't necessarily know if it applies to the gaming space, I guess is what I'm saying.
You don't have no proof!
But I can see that there's a big difference, most likely, and that might be our disconnect here. What do you think of that?
I personally think what I'm seeing is I'm seeing what's actually being factually reported. I'm not going off of my emotions or my feelings or anything or comic book industry that has nothing to do with what we're talking about right now. I'm going off of what Famitsu's reporting, which is the actual.
Well, and I'm doing what I always do, which is I'm looking. I'm looking for the space between, which is maybe there's
I'm simply going off what's factually being reported.
Right.
If you go to Japan, you look at the sellouts. People there are saying that the game is being sold out. You look at the PSN sales. So is Sony lying about it being number one for the whole month of November?
I guess
is Nintendo lying about it being number one? Is everyone lying? Is everyone lying? Is everyone making up things? Is everyone fluffing numbers so this guy can feel good about himself?
They can't lie. They can't lie because if they lie, they get themselves held legally liable to invest.
Everyone's lying about Dragon Quest sales, guys. Everyone's lying.
Here's my question:
they're fluffing everything.
Why does this game need to fail so bad? And I guess that's my question for any of these like Goonergate Crusades is what is it about this particular game or any game? They're doing it with The Witcher now, man. Like because Siri has some kind of a jawline, and they're literally I'm literally watching these people feel out terms that doctors don't even use anymore to describe the facial construction of a fake woman video game character. I guess my question is, why do these games have to fail when it's literally the same Siri that literally was from The Witcher 3 and no outrage? I don't remember any of this Dragon Quest outcry when Dragon Quest 3 initially censored crosses, which to me was a much larger censorship. Like if you're Christian, you'd probably be a little bit offended by that. Nobody outcried about that because they understood that Nintendo had very strong censorship predilections due to the gaming crash that just happened, and they needed to be as clean as possible. That was censorship back then. Where is this outcry? Where is this renewed? I guess my question is, where is this renewed zeal for free speech coming from, and why is it only applied to certain games and not others?
I'll tell you from my perspective, I didn't tackle the Witcher stuff because I've never played a Witcher game, so I'm not going to tackle that at all because I don't usually talk about things that I'm not knowledgeable at. So I'm not going to talk about the Witcher anything. But what I have seen, but what I have seen is people are there are people that are comparing the Witcher's series Witcher 4 appearance to a recently released statue and saying how much different her face looks from statue to that. But they're also doing side-by-side comparisons of what she looks like in Witcher 3 and Witcher 4, and then they're seeing a huge change in her facial structure, which is kind of where they're getting their
I'm not
idea
seeing
from.
it, brother. I got to tell you, I'm not seeing the huge difference. It's one of those things where it's just like I just feel like this, and this is where that grifter term comes in, where the people that are talking about it, and it just seems like maybe there's a bag of money to be made because I've looked at it, and especially like
he's not making a lot of money.
Like, I didn't do the 18th century,
unless Eric July's funding him, which I doubt.
Skull measurement shit that they were doing on Twitter to make sure that her exact facial features were. I didn't.
He's funding Eric July,
but like
that's just weird.
It seems to me like whether it's Dragon Quest 3 or whether it's this game or whether I just saw they just had this massive brigading thing because a game fogged out when you try to look up a pixel character's fully clothed body, and so they managed to get that reversed, and so now they can actually like skirt creep on a lady who is fully dressed, which I don't know. This is behavior in general. This entire movement is behavior that frankly I would be embarrassed to express this behavior in public.
I personally would let people just play the games the way they want to play it. I don't care.
I mean, that's one thing. I don't disagree with that, but like to literally have this much of a public outcry because you can't skirt creep a clothed character, like, oh my gosh, man, I don't get it. I don't get it. I feel like this is literally a parody of the SJWs from the 2014 and 10 times worse. Like, and I guess it confuses me that the people who are doing this can't see the irony in that. It just, I don't know. It boggles the mind to me. But again, they can do them. It's cool. But when it starts to encroach and actually starts to impact video games, and as Grums likes to say, be effective in some of the shit they're doing, it starts to.
That guy needs to go work on his game, Grums. Yeah, that guy needs to go work on his.
It starts to encroach on MySpace because I actually play games where these folks don't, and.
Grums since 2008 years now.
There's plenty of developers that do the same thing.
Why are we not? I guess that's okay. Hey guys, listen. Since other developers steal money, it's okay for him to steal money. Oh my goodness!
I've never once said that it was okay.
You're justified. Oh, plenty of other developers do it.
So what I am saying is you're going after one guy who took somebody's money. Like we get.
I went after multiple developers. He brought up Grumps, so I brought up how he's a fraud. You like to sympathize with him. That's the reason why you sit there and immediately make an excuse for him instead of saying, you know what? You just did, buddy. You just. I just called an excuse.
I literally did it. I just said, we'll call out Grums.
You just said plenty of other developers. The first thing out of your mouth was plenty of other developers.
I said plenty of other developers do the same thing. Are we doing the same thing for them? Are we doing the same thing for them?
Sure. Call those developers out right now. I'll give you a stage. Go ahead. Call them out. Let's hear
it. There's the guy who did the Shadow Hearts successor. The guy who did the Breath of Fire.
Has that been 8 years?
Was it? Does it matter? Does it matter?
No, it does matter. No, I think it does matter. Yeah, time matters, buddy. Time matters. No, because if I start a game let's say a year ago, if I start a game a year ago and I don't deliver on that game in like 1 year, people will be more lenient because it's only been 1 year. But if I started something 8 years ago, that would be a little bit more problem, especially when a bunch of people in the Discord are complaining and his fans that bought in are complaining and he just ignores them to talk on Twitter and all that. So name something relevant and name something like that's like 8 years ago. Go ahead.
It doesn't matter. To me, it doesn't matter how long it's been.
I don't even really know.
If you're promised a product within a certain amount of time and you don't deliver, and it takes even more years, and you have no progress updates based on said product you're trying to.
When is Star Citizen going to be out?
Get called out as well.
Okay, well then you call them out. Bad for them. Shame on them. Shame on them.
What's Star Citizen's release date?
The first thing I didn't do was defend them. I said, okay, so we're calling out Grums. Okay, cool. Are we calling out any other developers? Yes.
I'm not calling. To be fair, I'm not.
Hold up. We're not going to rewrite what he just said.
I said, what about other developers?
You can't quote tweet me when we're debating live. You can't quote me. Let me finish. You said the first thing you said was plenty of other developers. You are deflecting. I don't know if did your parents teach you what deflecting is? Deflecting is when somebody says something
about other developers.
Listen, stop trying to quote tweet me live.
Nobody's doing
deflecting
that,
is when somebody says something.
Stop trying to quote tweet me live.
Somebody did, and you immediately bring up something else. That is called deflecting. That is what you did. When we first brought up Grums, you said plenty of others.
What you're doing is you weren't letting me finish my statement before you jumped on.
No, you're trying to rewrite what just happened.
Nobody's rewriting anything. I said, what about other developers as well as Grums? And you let me finish my statement before you start jumping all over me. That's what you
now my response.
And that's what I was going to say, but you jumped all over my statement before I got to finish.
And my response is I didn't attack Grums for being, for not finishing the game. I attacked Grums for being an annoying, creepy, pervy weirdo. That is annoying. That is very.
I've been personally asked on Twitter about Grums' game, and I said, hey, it's terrible. He hasn't delivered it. I've already said this plenty of times.
You should have said that first. You should have said that first instead of saying. Yes, you should have said that first.
Yes, I have been asked about it. Yes, I've been asked. It's like, what about Grums' game? It's like, I think it's terrible. He hasn't delivered it as well.
That's good. See, we're making progress. I like it. We're making progress instead of defending him first.
And again, always trying to search for that space in that path in between that's unexamined. I think another reason why Grums gets the ire he does, aside from being annoying and creepy, I think another reason Grums gets the ire he does is largely.
I'm looking up.
Again, I didn't even know about the game shit. Not super knowledgeable about that. But the other thing is these other devs, these devs that are doing like
2020, 2027.
They're not
is what they're saying now.
They're not manufacturing outrage and keeping this space in a constant state of turmoil constantly every single day.
All I said is he should go work on his game instead of sitting here on Twitter all day. Go work on his game. It's been 8 years. Go work on your game. The developers for those, go work on your game. That's all I said.
He should. And again, I don't care if he works on his game or not. He should stop.
That's all I'm saying.
He should stop inciting and putting the space in a turmoil. That's what.
It's been a decade. It's been nearly a decade. You got kids that maybe supported it when they were 10 years old. They're about to be 20. They're about to be 20 years old, and they do not have their game. Listen, they not have their game yet, bro.
Hey man, I'm doing actually that same thing when it comes to the comic, indie comics, because I'm in that position in the comics where a guy is spending all his time, live streaming rather than finishing a comic that's like 5 years old, 5 years late. I'm dealing with that now, so I get that.
Yeah, and then they come out and they scream at your boy Rippa too.
Listen, he potentially stole breast milk too from an Activision Blizzard. I just want to put that out there as well. He allegedly stole breast milk from. Listen, that baby went thirsty because of Grums. The baby potentially went thirsty because of Grums. That is creepy, man.
Allegedly,
that is really creepy. I'm just saying.
It was called Penny Blood and Armed Fantasia. Those are the two games.
I know. I've covered Penny Blood and Armed Fantasia. Apparently, those games are going to get released.
So Penny Blood is the spiritual successor of Wayne Money.
So,
and
let's skip ahead a little bit. Oh, I broke it.
Okay, Asmin Gold, is that his name? Okay, so even he said that was racist in terms of that podcast with Hypnotic. Even he said that. So, like I said, he is kind of the messiah in you guys' community for a lot of that type of everything's woke, whatever, blah blah blah, right? So he's even saying that. So Hypnotic had a podcast with somebody that said something, and he defended that. He defended that.
No, he actually called it out. Did you not see that?
No, he was defending it on Twitter.
He absolutely called it out. He actually posted a clip of him calling out
after his video got removed. He wasn't calling it out on Twitter. He was telling everybody to watch it, and he was boastfully bragging when somebody called him out. So
he was telling people to watch the full context of what happened, and watching him call out the person live.
He never once said that. Hey, we don't want racism on our podcast. That's not a good look. We don't stand for that. He never said anything like that. That's where the grift comes in.
Yeah, because he doesn't have to.
Yeah, because he doesn't have to. Because he's a grifter. Because he's a grifter. Watch my content. Watch my racist content. Watch whatever I want you to watch, so I can make money.
He's a free speech absolutist, so
say whatever. And he harbored a racist.
My whole thing is anyone should be able to say anything they want. But
so let's
that does not. What do you say? That doesn't make you free of consequences to what you say.
Okay.
Although you should be able to say whatever you want.
This video got removed.
So let's explore that. So again, like free speech as a principle is always an interesting principle. It's one that I can respect and understand people coming from that, right? But I think there's typically a deeper conversation that needs to be had where this sudden zeal that always seems to pop up, in particular with certain circles, comes from free speech. So to take the chat and to take the guests on a little bit of a history tour, won't be too much of a detour, but it's worth having. There is a old racist film from a long time ago called Birth of a Nation. Okay. And this film was activists that try, hey, there's a racist people, free speech. So while free speech in and of itself is do what is to boycott.
I'm saying that he can't say what he wants to say or anybody can say what they want to say on there. I just simply said the result of after that dude, when it comes to like grifting or when it comes to whatever, which we did invite Hypnotic.
I wish the ghost guy wasn't here.
But that's nothing.
Well, to be fair, I'm tiny. To be fair, I don't want to.
He still ignored them. He still didn't respond at all.
But you're not tiny. But I get it because you're not tiny.
It's not like he's a massive channel either. So sure. I mean, whatever. But what I'm trying to say overall with this, because I know, like I said, you take issue with me even just saying grift tubers. I'm not even mentioning certain people or whatever. So I'll say this, like when people do stuff like that, like they just randomly want to talk about X, Y, and Z without having any type of information on the game or the franchise or what they're trying to do at all. If that's what you want to watch, that's whatever the case is, that's fine. I talk about stuff too as well. But let's not try to sit here and act like these people are highly invested into these franchises and care about the gameplay and care about all this other stuff. Some of them even potentially even play some of these things so they can say, I see, I told you so. I told you. Because if you look at all their old content, it's not even the stuff that they're talking about now in today's day. They've completely changed.
So changing your content is bad?
Changing your content is bad? What I'm saying is that they are following.
It depends on your perspective. Because there's some people demand
they are following
content, and some that say no, don't change it at all, or it just depends.
They are following the grift. They know that this type of stuff can make them money doing this, so that's the reason why they're doing it. They're not doing it because they feel like some type of overwhelming call personally, because they are a fan of the franchise and they enjoy it and they want to play the game. They're doing it because they know they can rile people up online and make money off of it. Now that's fine. If you want to be able to do that, that's cool. But somebody can call you out as fake. I feel that those people that do that are fake. Now I'm not mentioning anybody in particular. You're talking about certain people,
even though you just said Hypnotic
or orange-haired lady or whatever. I'm just talking about this right now. Hypnotic, I don't know. Hypnotic, I'm just talking about grift tubers in general.
I'm saying. I'm lost.
Yeah. So what would you consider a grift? So who would you consider a grift tuber? That's the thing. You can't just say all grift tubers and you're not naming nobody.
I'm just saying grift tubers.
But you just said Hypnotic had a grift.
I said Hypnotic does grifting, and he also harbors.
That's my point.
Yeah, Hypnotic does grifting. Yeah, he does.
Do you have any actual proof that Hypnotic doesn't care about what he talks
You
about?
got no proof.
Talks about. Do you have any proof?
Do I have any proof? No, I say that he does grifting, the stuff like he does, and also harboring racism as well. That's what I'm saying. That's what I see.
Do you have any proof that he doesn't care about the franchise he talks about?
Well, maybe if he played more, and I saw him actually play the games, and I saw him actually cover the games.
He played Black Myth Wukong. He played Dragon Age the Bellegarde. He played Dustborn. He played Half-Life 2 recently.
Oh,
he played Alan Wake 2.
To be fair,
I never told
played Dragon Age Veilguard to make money.
He made it so we can.
He made
confirmation bias.
He made the most ridiculous character he possibly could. He made the most hateful character he possibly could. He named it something ridiculous, and I get it. Like I get the humor from that perspective, and I don't think he played that for the love of the franchise. I think he played that because he could steal on the game. He could steal on the devs. He could make fun of the transness and the skin conditions and all the other stuff that he found ridiculous. And I think he knew that was going to make him some.
And that's fine. I don't have a. If he wants to be a grifter or grift tuber, he can do that.
Now, did you ask him if he's ever played any previous Dragon Age before you assume that he's grifting on Dragon Age the Veilguard?
Did I ask him that he's doing that? I'm just saying if he wants to be a grift tuber, or if he wants to sit there and if he wants to do these type of things.
Did you ask Hypnotic if he played?
He won't even respond to my message. Did he play the previous ones?
Did
he play the pre? I'm asking you.
Did you ask him though? That's not.
Why would I ask him?
Because you're assuming he's a grifter because he played Dragon Age the Veilguard, and assuming that he's never played a game.
No, I never said he's a grifter because he played Dragon Age the Veilguard. I said that he played it because he knows he can make a ton of money saying ridiculous things and doing
this video is so long.
And that's what he did. He did that.
This video is so long, and like so much happens. I feel like I need to dissect it properly. How long is Sturgis in here? Is he in here for like? Is he still here? Yeah, it looks like he's in here for like. Is he still here? No, he leaves. He leaves. When does Sturgis leave? I need to take some time to maybe edit out the bullshit. Because I'd like to go through most of this, but there are some parts that need to be clipped away from it. Yeah, if I had more time, I'd probably just watch the whole thing. But probably going to wrap it up in a little bit here. And then... But I do want to see more of this because there's a lot. There's like 2 hours, and we only watched a little bit of it, and I skipped through a ton. I need like a better edit of it, which I could probably do. Just watch it on really fast speed and keep the good bits. Nerd fight. But yeah, Sturgis couldn't argue very well. There's some heated moments where he kind of gets clowned. I think it's worth a more in-depth look. What say you? I have to actually... Okay. Yeah, so... It looked really bad. So yeah, I think I'm going to wrap this one up. Thank you guys for helping me reach the goal. I really appreciate it. I'll be on again tomorrow, so I'll see you then. Have a good one.